I think that there will be a point, hopefully in the next decade or so, where we see insurance companies, where we see modern medicine integrating Ayurveda within their practices. We live in a time of a lot of speed. Everything's generally cold because, our environment is air conditioned, or we're in a vehicle, or we're in front of a computer screen many hours. That all aggravates vata. We can all tune into the energetics of plants, but some plants are warming and some are cooling. Ayurveda, it can sound complicated, but once you start to get some of the basics, I think it's a beautiful portal to be able to live more in harmony with nature, more in harmony with yourself.
Our potential, it's exponential.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode. I'm very honored today to have my friend and herbalist and Ayurveda extraordinaire, Sabrina. Thank you for coming in.
Hey, Jack. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is Ayurveda?
Ayurveda. Ayur means life, and Veda means knowledge. Ayurveda is the ancient medical system of India. It comes with a wealth of information.
From India.
Yes, originates in India, but it's a worldwide medical system that has arrived in the United States, has arrived to the West for, I think, several decades at this point. It's still relatively new here in the West, but historically, it's over 4,000 years old, 4,000 to 5,000 years old.
4,000 to 5,000 years
Yeah,
old.
It's a medical system, traditional Indian medicine.
Is that like the
succinct definition of Ayurveda? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Traditional Indian medicine.
Exactly. Like traditional Chinese medicine, which is more, it's more popular. We have acupuncture here in the United States. Well, this is the Indian system.
It's not as popular.
It hasn't been integrated as long.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there will be a point, hopefully in the next decade or so, where we see insurance companies, where we see modern medicine integrating Ayurveda within their practices. Because Ayurveda is a preventative medicine as well as can treat acute cases. If you have a specific emergency, you're going to go to the emergency room. You're going to go to a surgeon.
Right.
But if you have obesity, if you have diabetes, if you had high blood pressure, if you have chronic hormonal issues, if you have depression, for example, and don't want to seek out specifically a pharmaceutical approach or a modern medicine approach, you can definitely seek out an Ayurvedic practitioner. It's a longer path sometimes, but the results are sustainable, they're healthy, they don't have the side effects that sometimes modern medicine can bring.
Yeah, so is that you said 4,000 years old, is that like the Vedic records people talk about?
Yes, so Veda means, yes, the knowledge, it's based on the Vedic records, exactly, which is a written form of that information,
Really?
Of that wisdom.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So you were explaining it so beautifully earlier, yeah. It's like a blueprint, you say.
I love to think of it as like a blueprint for living. When it's an open source cliff notes for living as well. When within Ayurveda, one of the many, there's so many different channels, within this. It's a medical system. So you need, a whole lifetime or, often even for herbalists, you need several lifetimes to really know the knowledge.
It's a practice.
Yes. It's a practice. So one of the areas that we have introduced to the United States that's sometimes understood is the doshas. There are 3 doshas. The doshas are essentially a metabolic type. We have the long and lanky kind of person, right? That we know,
slender,
slender,
okay.
Very small wrists, more angular features. When they put on weight, they kind of put it on in funny places, around the hips or in just kind of funny places. They lose weight easily. They have irregular habits, right? They can skip meals. They forget things sometimes when they're out of balance. Vata types are very imaginative, very creative. They're brilliant. They're like our are Peter Pans. They create magic in the world.
Amazing.
And Vata types have, in Ayurveda, 2 elements that they're created. We look at everything through the natural world, through the lenses of the elements. And the Vata, the ectomorphic, long and lanky, skinny, unicorn fairy, Peter Pan type, well, they are made of air and ether, those 2 elements. So they're inherently irregular, unstable. Air and ether are very they're elements that move, that they
It's energy.
they're moving all the time.
Interesting.
Right? So these skinny ectomorphic body types, I want to also put a caveat. You are not just that. If
Thank
you
you.
identify
I
with
was thinking
that, you are
that,
not just that. Don't define yourself just through that. I'm saying this is a
Facts.
lens that helps us understand that we have a propensity to, we are that, generally, but we're not going to be defined by that completely.
These doshas you're talking
The
about.
doshas, exactly.
Thank
right?
you for prefacing that, because yes, exactly, it's a blueprint. Exactly,
It's a blueprint.
framework.
It's a framework.
But
but
we're
don't
individual.
define exactly.
But we're we're all beautiful.
Defined. Exactly. We're all beautiful, and it's just the ability to look at yourself through that lens then allows you to, through the law of opposites. Let's say you're irregular. You forget things. You don't have to inherently be like the long and lanky types. You can have an imbalance of Vata, right? You can be having insomnia or anxiety. These are symptoms of Vata, of too much, bless you,
Excuse me.
too much space and air is going around. So it's pushing you to forget things, right? So what do we do for a Vata type? People who have either inherently are their essence is more like that, or they're going through a period of time where they're having anxiety attacks and insomnia.
Excuse
It's
me.
okay.
Yeah.
We bring regularity to them, right? That's it. You can create a whole diet, a whole protocol, but the number one thing for that is regularity. Regularity at the time you go to sleep, the time you wake up, the meal times, very much so the meal times. Having
Interesting.
regularity, that will bring Vata way down.
That's a good oh man. So if
Yeah.
oh man, I'm Vata, I don't know what to do. It's it's not it's not a problem, but okay, here's a beautiful thing that a teaching almost that's hey, regularity is your prescription.
Yes.
Or whatever, if you will.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
That's the number one thing I want people, because you can say I am Vata or I have Vata, because you can be a Vata type or you can have an imbalance where you have extra Vata.
Yes.
Okay?
I am Vata.
Right?
Or I
have Vata. Yeah? So regularity is the name of the game for Vata, right?
Beautiful.
Warmth, regularity.
Who's an example of Vata in the world?
That's a great question. That's a great point. The first person I thought was Kate Moss, a very skinny, tall,
Yeah, okay.
lanky.
Skinny. It's your body type too.
Exactly. It's the
Yeah.
natural body type. I'm thinking Stephen Hawking also is very Vata.
Okay.
Very lanky, thin, very of the mind as well. It's very Vata.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the other two?
Okay, so the other 2 doshas, we're talking about this lens of looking at our metabolic types, is Pitta, the second one that we look at, fire. Think of Pitta as fire. And a secondary element, water. Fire and water. Who are Pitta types in the world? The big leaders of the world. A hawk, a lion, a cheetah.
Leaders.
Yeah,
Got
leaders,
it.
presidents in general have a
Fire.
ton of Pitta.
Fire.
Are inherently Pitta, or they've got a lot of Pitta.
You know what's interesting? The pitaya fruit, the dragon fruit.
Yes.
Dragon fire, and it likes the heat. I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. That's got to be a thing.
Absolutely. And you look at the
Pitaya.
natural world. I like to first explain the things through our bodies, because we can, what else do we have? First thing we see is our body, right?
Yeah.
But then in the natural world, we have these doshas too. You can see things in the environment. Florida's landscape has a lot of Pitta, a lot of sun, a ton of sun. So we think of fire, sun, heat, red, dryness. In the body, when someone has a lot of Pitta or is naturally more of a Pitta type, you are average height, average, thickness. I'm very much a Pitta type, very average, body type. You have a lot of you can be very sharp, You know, when you're out of balance, you get angry. You're very temperamental sometimes.
Yes, fire.
Fire. Irritability. The stomach area generally is a part of the body that you have a lot of issues with if you're very pitta, or you have an imbalance of pitta. You have IBS, digestive problems. That's very pitta. Also skin inflammation, right? Like inflammatory stuff, that's very pitta.
Interesting.
People who have like light eyes, freckles, or just like very fiery, very sharp eyes, that are very pitta energy. So that's pitta.
Okay.
And then we've got kapha. Kapha's my favorite. We don't talk about kapha enough. I think kapha, people when they talk about Ayurveda just talk about, oh, kapha. Kapha's the bigger people, right? Mesomorphic, so more square, bigger bodied
Got it. Like
than the average.
Adonis type, like big.
Yeah, I think Adonis would be more like a pitta, right? Because
it.
Adonis is like the epitome.
Sculpted. Yeah, okay.
Of the beautiful.
This one would be more like mountain man.
Yeah, more like mountain man, more like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he's stockier. He's very fit, obviously.
Okay.
But like, let's think stocky. Like,
so this is kapha.
this is kapha, and kapha is
Stocky.
earth energy. Earth is
Okay.
dense and cool, and water too. And kapha people, they're our mother goose energy. Loving, caring, nurturing. We all have kapha. We all have all of these these doshas.
That's right.
But some of us have more of it, or much more of one thing than the other. So kapha, like out of balance, can be more like energy that hoards or more codependent, like sticky kind of emotionally. In balance, it's like it's the nectar of life, right? It's like the sexual fluids. It's the ojas, we say, like the prana of life. That's kapha. Babies are kapha. That's like pure life force, like all that beautiful fat and like that smile and like the rolls. That's kapha.
That's kapha energy.
Yeah, and we have stages of life that are a specific dosha. So when we're born, we're in kapha. We're in that big, growing, lots more fat ratio to like anything else. From 0 to about like our adolescence, we go through puberty. It's all hormonal.
Right,
We're
when you're a
growing.
teenager.
That's pitta. That's
You
like
turn into fire. That's
turn into
right.
fire.
You're going
The
against
metabolism lights up, and you start your body transforming. Those transformations are pitta transformations, metabolic transformations.
Do you think that's like with that? That's so interesting. Like in the life stages. too.
Yes, in the life stages. And then after menopause, or around like 55, 60, we go into a vata stage of life. That is time for connection to, it's always time for connection for the spiritual, but that's when we're more even clear and prepped to connect to the spiritual. And that's vata time stage of life. So we have stages of life also that are our doshas.
Wow, with the stage of life. Do you think that's like, wow, like it's like transformation within?
Yeah.
What? Whoa.
Yeah.
Like we can't even almost like define, like we could have a whole series on this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. I love to see it in stage of life too. Yeah, you see the doshas.
You said earlier the remedy about the, what was it, vata energy?
Uh-huh.
Like regularity is
Yes.
a good, like,
Yes.
what would be a good, like, if you will, like remedy or prescription for
Yes.
someone who's fiery and someone who's kapha?
Great.
Earthy?
I remember I was hoping you were going to ask that. I forgot too.
Cool.
Pitta is chill, to relax.
Yeah.
That's the best for pitta.
To literally just be and relax.
Not do anything. To just be.
That's amazing. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. To not do, just be. So I translate that as like chill. Just chill.
Yeah. Get
You
out
know?
of executive mode for a second.
Get
I
out
keep
of like
thinking about
doing
that.
mode. And also water. Water is really important for pitta. So they say in the sacred texts to have a body of water to look out on for pitta, to cool. You need coolness. So cool the fire by looking at water, which makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Yeah.
That's why the beach feels so good.
Yeah.
This is good. I already know
Yeah.
people at home are like thinking about who they are. And it's kind of beautiful, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
exactly.
just the self-awareness. I
Yeah.
don't know. Someone said that to me one time about astrology. Like it's just understanding kind of more about yourself.
Very much. This is
And
what we're talking about. It's
that's
just
what it is.
it's an understanding. It's a way to look at life and do life a little bit more, joyfully a little better, helps
Optimize.
you. Yeah, optimize. Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. I love
Yeah.
it. And I wasn't in the place to hear it at that time. I remember. But like I was like, I didn't really get it. And now like I'm like, oh, I get what they were saying.
About what?
Awareness. It's more awareness, more.
Yeah.
It's just teaching. It's just deeper learning.
Yeah. And honestly, if you have an issue, like if you have a symptom, a chronic symptom that you've been struggling with a lot of your life and you haven't been able to resolve it, it's remarkable how some very straightforward, basic recommendations from Ayurveda can resolve that. It's really awesome. I mean,
like
my
water.
father,
Guys, water.
Yeah.
You just
yeah, water.
What an amazing thought.
I mean, my father has been a doctor for over 45, I think 50 years actually, from Argentina. My younger brother's a psychiatrist. I love like the fact that my older brother works with Amazonian plants. I love that everybody has a different lens to look at healing.
In your family?
Yeah, in my family.
I love
and
that.
I see, my dad who's been seeing patients for 4 or 5 decades here in Boca.
Thousands of patients.
Thousands of patients in Boca. It's like, how many patients has he seen for IBS symptoms, So, and how many prescriptions has he written for the IBS symptoms? It works. The medications, they have side effects. Are there ways to resolve these symptoms through taking out a food as well? Yeah.
Absolutely.
As well. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just they can complement each other.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
I love that.
You
can't hate on that.
I'm not gonna hate on, because I think that we
100,000%.
actually need more bridges. Between
integration.
One medical approach, another one. They complement each other. They can integrate. That's called integrative medicine, and we need those bridges for his patients to just be taught. Listen, you've got IBS. Let's look at taking out a little bit of the coffee that you drink. Peppers, for example, not great for people. Anything in the pepper family for people who have like chronic inflammation issues. There's very basic things that you can do. That's what I love. It's like it's grandmother, wisdom, but it's actually been codified into a medical system. So it's not just I love, everything that is folk medicine, but it's not folk medicine, actually, Ayurveda. It's like a time-tested system as well.
Yeah. I love that. So what would that look like, Sabrina? Like, what would that look like integrated with his practice? Like your dad.
Oh, that's a great question.
2024,
We've got to build it. We've got to create it, you know?
What would that look like? Exactly what you're saying, like, I guess, but it's deep.
So what it could look like is for modern doctors, right? Meaning like my dad, to have trainings on nutrition, on lifestyle medicine, right? So like movement, right? What kind of physical, practices people could integrate into their lives. Make actual recommendations, scripts, prescriptions saying, eat more of this, eat less of this. I think that we can debate if it's a good model or not, but I think that they have a sense of that the doctor is a place of authority. It matters when the patient sits there and they tell them, you've got to do this, or I recommend that you do this. I think that it carries some weight. So if they are trained in looking at how the impacts that diet has, that exercise has, that prayer or meditation has, that will have great impact.
Someone who's all over the place. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
That's a
regularity. And there are integrative doctors. There are.
I mean, how cool would that be if you saw like Paul Chek and he wrote you a script that was like, dude, brother, you need movement. You're
I
sedentary.
think that actually people would. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we don't need that kind of sense of that person to say like, this is what,
No, I think what you're saying though is accurate. When people have they don't know what's going on in their situation, if you will, they do like that sense of, hey, he knows what he's talking about.
Exactly.
This is what he does for 20 years. And they have this certainty too, right? In the script.
Of trust.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's something there.
Also, Ayurveda, what I would love to see as well is that we have what's called the Panchakarma. It's the 5 pathways of detoxification. It's a very sophisticated 3 to 4 week long, can be longer, can be shorter, depending on where you do them. For now, there's some places in the United States that are very expensive, but there's many places in India, and it's just one of the most comprehensive tools that Ayurveda has for resetting the entire body. You essentially go into a hospital, but it's not really the hospital that we understand as here in the States. It's generally a setting in nature with wonderful food. You eat a very light diet for 3 to 4 weeks, and you get very intense treatments that include massages, that include enemas, that include ways to actually like clear the entire digestive tract. The entire body gets like on a cellular level flipped, all the cells. So a lot of people with chronic debilitative pain or injuries,
of course,
heal a lot in a very short period of time.
Wow. Wait, so what is this called?
It's called Pancha Karma.
Pancha Karma.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds
so that
wild.
Could be a future bridge here in the States.
These
is
are
to
beautiful
have,
solutions.
This here.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's cool to understand this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much.
Oh my God, yeah. So speaking of, how does it, because dude, so cool. You were saying how it's like life stages.
Yes.
And like how the doshas appear in that. How does it appear in nature? Because you were getting at that earlier.
When you see essentially dirt that's been caked, and heavy and solid, like a rock, right? Like that's kapha, that's soil energy. That's like the heavy, dense energy that just is lacking water. And when you see a little dewdrop on top of a leaf, early in the morning, that's also kapha. The water in the atmosphere has condensed, has gotten heavier, has gotten denser, it's cooled, and then it's created a drop of water on top of a leaf. That's kapha. That's that heavy energy.
That morning dew.
Interesting. Right? And then, the pitta is here in South Florida is so clear, that we see pitta here is fire in the sky, that sun, caking like on the asphalt. You see like that reflection, that glow. That's pitta. That's like fire, a little bit of kind of like water. And then
like Florida is kind of pitta in nature.
Florida is very pitta.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of fire. It also has a lot of kapha.
Yeah, like the alligator reminds me of kapha energy, doesn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Everglades.
Animals that move slowly, diligently.
But by the way, they're fast.
And then they're really fast.
They're
but
fast.
An alligator has both. What would you say?
Yeah, I would agree.
What would you say? What two doshas would you choose?
I'd say kapha and I don't know, they're kapha and pitta.
And pitta. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have both.
That's
We generally
exactly
have
right.
both. We have all three, but you have two that are predominant.
You're
Absolutely.
exactly
So it's
right.
kapha and pitta. It's a great example of like how we see the doshas in nature. It's the alligator, an egret, or a heron. What would you say? Like, what energy does that bird have?
The great blue heron. Yeah, like a kapha and a what's it called, vata?
I would say it has a lot of vata.
Vata,
right? Because
it's a
they're
bird.
Birds in general have a lot of vata, mostly vata, and then they have pitta because they have to come in for the hunt. They have to scoop in for that fish.
Yes.
They have to laser in with their eyes and with their beak, and that's a very pitta energy. Is that kind of the bow and arrow kind of energy? But in general, the bird in the air, very, very sensitive creature. You can't really walk up to it. It flies right away.
Gone.
It's gone. That's vata. That's like the hummingbird is the same. It's like an extreme version of, is like the extreme vata energy.
It's like archetype.
It's a little fairy. The fairy is vata. Like, if you want to think like in terms of very simple, the fairy is vata. The devil is pitta.
It is magical, like you said. Wait, what? Wait.
I mean, we're good people too. I'm very pitta,
what?
but I'm like if you want to like extreme example, like the devil is like pitta.
Wait, let's talk about that. Wait, what do you mean? Yeah, I guess inferno and
Yeah, but like that's a very out of balance, whacked out.
Yeah.
Pitta person.
There we go. All right, cool.
And then like a balanced, pitta person is like an MLK.
I love that. Super, like, yeah.
Like a leader
meant
that
what-
inspires.
He was riled up.
Yeah, or
Yeah, in the best
Nelson
way.
Mandela too. Like these are leaders that inspire and then, have kindness in their eyes. That's a balanced pitta person. And the devil is
I love
the unbalanced version.
There you go. Okay, it comes full
Yeah.
circle.
The dolphin, that playful, joyful,
Yeah.
intelligent, like
Is what?
what would you say? It's got more than just one.
Vata.
Yeah, it's got a lot of vata. It's mischievous. It's got a lot of pitta too.
Dude.
They're really sexual animals too, aren't they? Dolphins.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
that also that like high sexuality. Everybody. It doesn't matter what dosha you are, but some people who have a very high pitta will often have more of that. Like you can sense it, sexual energy. And the dolphin is one of those animals. It has a lot of vata. It has a lot of pitta. Right. And they're always like playing, joy, darting from one direction to the other.
Yeah, like you said.
Manatee.
Magic.
What would that be?
Manatees. Vata?
No, kapha.
Kapha.
So kapha.
Kapha.
The
Scratch.
sea cow, right?
Kapha.
Yeah.
We should have like a little quiz. Which animal is kapha?
Yeah, what are the top like
multiple
Florida
choice.
animals, and like so that's a great these are great examples of seeing the doshas
Totally.
in nature. And it gives us like a way to organize,
And by the way, they're all
Yeah.
great. They're
Yeah.
all beautiful.
They're all beautiful. Exactly.
I love that you breaking this down, Sabrina. I appreciate it. It's cool.
It's fun.
You know what? It is fun.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this, like when, anyways, in business,
Uh-huh.
it's like you're either an artist who makes your business, you're like an artist,
Right.
you're an entrepreneur who's just kind of like, what's the arbitrage, makes the money.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like the operator, the leader, manager, runs the show. And by the way, you're all of them. Same thing. You can be a little bit of entrepreneur and like also some artist and some creative.
Absolutely.
But like each one is one of those. And by the way, yeah, it's like the Tony Robbins. I learned it in his like seminar. He said that in times of stress and success,
Yes.
you go back to what your nature is.
You go back to your nature. Exactly. Yeah.
Which means basically at any time, like when you're doing great, when you're like stressed about shit, you're going to go back to being the artist and making music or working in the garden, or like I'd say I'm more artist and not manager, and and I've learned that in myself. But anyways, it's a beautiful analogy to that same.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah. And if you go, only in your artist ways, or you find yourself that you're not advancing in other areas, then you add in the other,
Yes.
players. And that's the same thing with the doshas. You're like sad and you're not getting up in the morning, and you've put on weight, and, your place doesn't feel good to you because you haven't taken care of it. Doesn't matter what dosha you are, you're more in kapha, right? Like in the unhealthy version of kapha. Like,
Right.
so what do you need to
Imbalanced
bring
top.
in? You got to bring in that pitta fire. You got to bring the fire. And the only way to do it, not the only way, but one of the ways to do it is get up super early, kick in a little bit of discipline at the front end. It's not going to be easy at the beginning, but then you start to habituate, right? Get up early, move your body, see the sun, activate, right? Activate. So you asked like what was the
Yeah.
magic word for people who are vata?
Yeah.
Is regularity.
Right.
For pitta, it's to chill. And for kapha, it's activate, right? Yeah? So,
I'm
yeah.
glad we found that third remedy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the script. And by the way, yeah, like you said, like you could bring in like lifestyle practices, but like also you could have teas that help like support that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
There's so many herbal remedies, right? And so many plants in not just the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, like the Ayurvedic plant world, but, even just Western plants that we can look at.
totally. So
And we use the
many.
we use the same kind of philosophy. So you're really vata. You got tons of anxiety right now. You're kind of doing things at random hours. What are some plants that can be really regulating for you? Well, one of the ones that's gotten really popular lately is called ashwagandha, right? It's a plant. I like to look at the plants and see like that visually. They're showing us what they're good for. It's a long root.
Okay.
You know, it's a root. When it's all like knotted up, that root roots you, right? It's really like good for the what I want to say is that today we also live in a Vata time, right? So the computer screen.
So it is a classic problem for a lot of people.
It's a classic problem.
So the ashwagandha, because by the way, I love ashwagandha.
Mm-hmm.
It's that like grounding, whatever. Like
It's very grounding. Wow. It's an adaptogenic plant. So that's just a fancy word that means it regulates, it normalizes what you need in your body. You need to sleep a little more. It'll help you get to sleep. You need to wake up and be more active. It'll help you be more alert.
Adaptogen.
Adapt. It allows you to adapt your body, adapt back to homeostasis. And it's a great herb. I would recommend if people want to take it that they actually see a practitioner.
Exactly.
Because it's a powerful herb, and here, you know, in the States, we can just get whatever we want at any time. But it's a powerful herb, and it's not for everybody, but it's really good because what I'm saying is today, like 2024, and in the last 20 years, and in the future, we live in a time of a lot of speed. Everything is fast. Everything's generally cold because, our environment is air conditioned, or we're in a vehicle, or we're in a shopping center, or we're in front of a computer screen many hours. So that is space energy. That's a lot of air, right? We're in movement a lot, and we're also in a different dimension a lot of time. That's not the physical dimension in front of us. The computer screen is a different dimension. So that all aggravates Vata. We're not really eating regular meal times a lot, so that also aggravates. So we live in a Vata time, so that's why ashwagandha got really popular.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But by the way, I love it too. Like it jacks me up. But I need to put that disclaimer in the beginning because, by the way, these are plants, man.
Yes,
they're they affect us.
They are, but
in beautiful ways.
Yes, they're powerful. So knowing what is a little bit out of where you want to be, out of balance, you can use the plants to kind of bring you back the opposite energy of the plant. So the ashwagandha is rooting. It's good for when you're not rooted. Kapha, big, dense energy, right? Just stocky, good presence in life. Doesn't need things that root it more. Generally, kapha people, or if you're in that kapha, kind of more heavy or lethargic energy, think about bringing in herbs that are spicy and warm and invigorating. So good examples of that is turmeric, ginger. Ginger is the best for kapha.
Ginger.
Yeah, ginger's great. Also calendula.
Interesting.
Very warming. Yeah. This sun energy. It's a great plant for kapha.
Totally.
Right? It's great for the winter. You want to bring that solar energy in. And then for pitta, like we said, the magic word for pitta is cool, chill, to cool off, to chill out. Then think about, we can all tune into the energetics of plants, but some plants are warming and some are cooling.
Big time.
Mints are cooling.
Cucumber.
Yeah.
Dude, when you have mint, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's cooling for you. Hibiscus is cooling, right?
Hibiscus.
Mm-hmm. Té de Jamaica, agua de Jamaica. That's hibiscus, very cooling. Rose is cooling. And chamomile is also great and lavender is great for pitta.
I need to write these down for when we're working. You're right.
These are great. You put them in, Yeah. Yeah. And so Vata, I said ashwagandha, but also any of the other ones that are warming, like calendula, like ginger, like turmeric. Those are great for Vata too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is a plant that we brought in today from your farm. This is tulsi. It's a beautiful baby tulsi.
We were potting these up this morning.
Yes.
We love tulsi.
A wonderful medicinal herb originally from Southeast Asia, from India. And it's called the incomparable one in Ayurveda.
I love that. It's outstanding.
The incomparable one.
And by the way, guys, I feel that energy from this. This is really special. It is. It's
a sacred plant. It's revered. It's planted often in front of temples in
They
India.
worship it, literally.
They worship it, yeah.
So how could people use this if we plant it for someone's like, hey, who has no idea? Sabrina, how does one use that? Okay, it's spiritual, great.
Yes.
But like, which is important. I see that. But
Right.
like, what are the uses?
Called holy basil.
Holy basil.
Holy basil.
That's
right?
that's what they call it.
Yeah, or the queen of herbs as well. It's called. It has
Mm.
so many different names because it's so powerful and spiritual. How can you there's
It's
so
like
many.
God. It's like God has so many names.
So what you do is you can make a fresh, exactly. It is. I mean, it's the manifestation, they say, of Lakshmi, one of the Hindu goddesses. So it has,
Lakshmi.
yes, one of the Hindu goddesses.
Beautiful.
And so, yes, it's revered. It's a very powerful plant. And you can plant it in front of your home for protection as well. You can, how can you use this plant? Okay, you can clip the leaves straight off or just pull them off, and you can put them into a pot with some water and make a tea. That's the easiest way, just to make a tea
It's delicious. by
with
the
the
way.
fresh leaves. Or you can take the leaves off. It's so delicious. Dry them just on a sheet pan in the sun, or not direct sun, but just in a warm place so that it dries. This is a dried holy basil, a different variety, but
Beautiful.
it's dried, and you can it might be easier to, if you have a big plant, just to take off a bunch of leaves and dry them, and then you can put them in a pot. Tea is a wonderful, easy way, right? That's medicine that you can drink every single day for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. You can make a big mason jar and just put a bunch of leaves in it with even cool water and put it out in the sun, and you make a sun tea. Another thing you can do is make pesto. So instead of this is in the basil family. I said at the beginning it's a basil.
People think it's
It's a
basil,
basil.
all the time. They
It
see
is basil. It's
Yeah.
a holy basil. It's more fragrant.
Holy basil,
It
I
is.
love it.
It's more fragrant. It's more aromatic. So it's not as just like even as the regular basil. You have to try it and
It's
see if you like it.
Tangy almost.
It's
or
peppery.
peppery.
A lot of people, I like when they describe it, it has got kind of like a smoky incense flavor.
Yeah.
You can do half and half, regular basil and half of this, but it creates like a experience that I would say some people feel a little high because they're like so happy. This brings a lot of joy, this plant. A lot of,
I think that's
it's
why
uplifting.
I'm so damn it's uplifting.
it's very uplifting. Bees swarm this plant, right? It's a pollinator when you look at it from just a practical sense, but it's a plant that brings all of that like fairy energy, that vata energy. It is connected to spirits, literally, this plant. So
It's
you can make
amazing.
pesto. You can also probably, I've never done it, but you could probably dry the leaves and put it in a smoke blend, I bet.
Got you. Very cool. But
Yeah.
tea is the best way for people to kind of get
Yeah.
into. Yeah.
That's the
how I got
easiest, most
into.
straightforward. Yeah.
I love this.
And I would say the coolest thing about planting a tulsi plant is that you've got tea for like a year, you know? Yesterday I just
Forever.
Forever. I watched a video
Yeah, yeah.
and I had bought in like a container of tea that has tulsi in it, and it's got like a little bag like this big, right? And it's all a container. So it's like you got the plant. It takes a step or two, but you just dry it. You can cut it up or not, and then you've got tea. You've got tea, tons of bulk tea for, to ride for a while.
You don't have to go buy
So,
tea at Walmart.
This is truly like
Yeah.
plant medicine. Yeah.
Tul- Tulsi.
Tulsi.
Amazing.
It's an incredible, beautiful plant.
It's an adaptogen too, right?
It's an adaptogen, and we often look at the plants, we're like, what can it do for us? Well, a lot.
Yeah.
But also, we can also build a relationship with these plants as well, just by observing them, thanking them,
I
looking at
appreciate
them. We don't have to extract from them either. We can like enjoy them. The scent, that's so beautiful. It's a beautiful plant.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sabrina. Yeah, start with, like, it's like a relationship with people, right? It's like,
Yes.
start with appreciation. And
Yes,
Not like, what does it do for me?
exactly.
You're so
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's a relationship.
It's a relationship, and this is a plant that's pretty powerful. If
Yeah.
you give it, I bet. I haven't built that
Seriously.
relationship yet, but I would like to. I bet it's that you revere it, and it will give.
That's it. What plants do you have that relationship with, if you do?
Yeah, with lemon balm,
Mm,
with rosemary. Rosemary is like,
really?
yeah.
What do you use that for?
Food, cooking,
Yeah.
infusing oils. You can
Okay.
infuse your oil either for culinary stuff or for our body,
Got it.
for self-massage. Yeah,
Beautiful.
those are two plants that come up. I love tobacco.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a bad rap.
Yeah,
But it's
Well,
special.
it's a power medicine. It's a power plant.
I love it as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Very masculine energy.
Mhm.
What kind of energy is this? Feminine or masculine?
There's two versions of history. One is the like, Eastern, Eastern tradition.
Uh-huh.
The East says it's a very feminine plant.
Okay.
And there's a lot of uses of
Uh-huh.
Tulasi, queen of the herbs, the incomparable one. There's 4 names.
There's probably more.
For the use of, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. What's the Latin name is Oxymum sanctum. So it's holy basil. That's what it means.
Beautiful.
For women's health, essentially, for the womb, for the uterine health, ovarian health, for hormonal health, has huge, applications for that. So I find it's very feminine. And then in the West, in Latin, they said it was like the king of the herb. So it depends.
Got
you
it.
know.
There's discrepancy
Yeah,
around it.
yeah. There's 2 different versions of history. Yeah.
Well, to be continued. We got to
Yeah.
get out of here, but this has been fun.
This has been great. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share, Sabrina? I really appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you. Yeah, what else can I share? Ayurveda, I mean, it can sound complicated, but once you start to get some of the basics, I think it's a beautiful portal to be able to live more in harmony with nature, more in harmony with yourself, more in harmony with your environment, So I definitely invite people to just kind of read a little bit more about it. Plant to plant, yeah, and get into a relationship with that plant,
I love that. Get into
Yeah.
a relationship with the plants.
Yeah, exactly. when all else fails, get in a relationship with the plant.
Yeah. I love it.
Exactly.
You rock. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack, for inviting me.
Yeah. See you guys.
We're in the garden. It's existential.